All right, YouTube, welcome to IJN&x TV. In this video right here, I'm gonna do a little bit of rambling, and as a Kobe Bryant fan, it's sad I gotta do this, man, but I gotta defend LeBron James because the slander, it's starting to get very, very ridiculous, okay? First things first, a lot of people talk about LeBron James' decision to go with the Miami Heat. He gets a lot of slack for it, and, a lot of people disrespect him and his legacy because of that move. They say that he always stacks the teams and stacked the deck and, the whole nine, all right? And as a Lakers fan, Kobe Bryant fan, I was not so happy with the decision also because, one, I know it's going to make it difficult for us to win championships, right? We were just coming off of back-to-back championships, 3 consecutive finals runs, and here you go, you got this superpower in the Eastern Conference that we got to worry about outside of the Boston Celtics. But to defend LeBron, the reason why he had to make that type of move and take matters into his own hands was because he wasn't getting any help from his front office, okay? And I have rosters in front of me, I have stats in front of me from his years, from his first finals appearance in 2007 all the way to his last year in Cleveland, okay? And his teammates that he had on board. It wasn't great. I said this in previous videos. LeBron James did not have a solid roster around him, okay? His second best player, and you could pick between these two, okay, because I think it's legitimate. I don't think it's clear cut. His second best player that he played with up to that point was between Larry Hughes and Mo Williams, okay? Which Mo Williams was actually an all-star. Larry Hughes, I don't think he ever was an all-star, but that was the two choices for his second best teammate, okay? Some may say Zydrunas Ilgauskas in the running for being the second best teammate. None of those are fantastic options, okay? Each one of those players averaged around 14, 15 points per game. That's not a lot of help, especially when you're going against a stacked Boston Celtics team with 3 first ballot Hall of Famers, okay? 3 first ballot Hall of Famers. Kevin Garnett is the MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, all right? Paul Pierce is an All-NBA talent. Ray Allen is an All-NBA talent, all right? 3-point specialist, great scorer. Rajon Rondo became one of the greatest point guards up to 2010s. It's just Rasheed Wallace was on the later roster in 2010. So you have Tony Allen, who became one of the best defenders, perimeter defenders in the 2010s. Kobe Bryant, Tony Allen is the toughest defender he ever played against, okay? So we have that roster there. How do you expect for one player, with his second best player being between Larry Hughes and Mo Williams, to get past that, okay? Even look at the Orlando Magic, okay? You got Dwight Howard, who was the best defensive player toward the end of that decade in the 2000s. You got Rashard Lewis, you got Vince Carter, you got Jameer Nelson, you got JJ Redick, you have Hedo Turkoglu. Like, that roster was a strong roster. And it's kind of ironic how the team that eliminated LeBron in that span, right? They always went on to win the championship, right? 2007, you in the finals, get beat by the Spurs and win a championship. 2007, 2008, you get eliminated by the Boston Celtics, they go and win the championship. 2009, you got the Orlando Magic. They eliminated LeBron, they go on to the finals, which they didn't win the championship, but they went on to the finals, right? 2010, you got the Boston Celtics, went on to the finals, right? So the team that beat LeBron or eliminated LeBron, they either won the championship or they won the conference and made it to the NBA Finals. Those are the teams that LeBron James had to go against. But, just like the old days, you got to stick it out and you got to deal with it. Well, the difference between LeBron James and Michael Jordan is Michael Jordan had a front office executive in Jerry Krause that knew how to get him help, okay? He ended up getting Scottie Pippen and Horace Grant, okay? They ended up getting a good coach, which Doug Collins was an excellent coach, but he couldn't take him over the hump. They got Phil Jackson. Phil Jackson was a genius, right? Along with Tex Winter, they got the triangle offense. They figured out a way to get past the Detroit Pistons, right? They beat some solid teams. He came back in 95 after his, first retirement. couldn't get it past Orlando Magic. It was identified that they needed a good rebounding power forward. They went ahead and got Dennis Rodman. So, you have, the Chicago Bulls going out and actively seeking legitimate help. Okay. They drafted well. What did LeBron James get in that span? Nothing. He didn't get absolutely anything. Okay. And I'm not knocking any one of those players, because in order to be a pro, you have to be an elite basketball player. Those are 1% players in the world, but none of those guys was going to help LeBron get over the hump. So what LeBron does, tired of losing, tired of giving his all, getting eliminated, don't want his legacy to be of a loser. He take matters in his own hands, along with Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh, which was an unpopular move, which took a lot of guts to make. Okay. It's difficult to make a move like that, because you go from being one of the most loved stars to one of the most hated stars. You're the villain now, which LeBron James, he does not play a good villain. He want to be loved. And he did that. He took that on the chin. 2011, he wasn't himself, right? He playing with Dwayne Wade. It's technically Wade's team, so he kind of had a really bad 2011 NBA Finals, which, that might tarnish his legacy if you ask some folks. To which I say that, a lot of people have bad games and bad series. Just like Irvin Magic Johnson, one of my favorite players. I'm a Lakers fan. Like I said at the beginning of the video, I love Magic. But in his second NBA Finals, they called him Tragic Johnson, because he made a lot of big mistakes down the stretch. He played bad down the stretch. Okay. And we still love Magic. He's still a top 5 player if you ask a lot of people, right? He's in my top 5, so it's just, it's not fair if we hold LeBron James to that standard where he can't make any mistakes. This man is going in year 23. I made a comment saying that LeBron James is a top 10 player in the league. Somebody said, oh man, it's disrespectful to say that LeBron James is, a top 3, top 10 player. I'm saying top 3 player of all time, but top 10 player currently. Last time I checked, LeBron James was second team All NBA. Okay. And if you're second team All NBA, that means you were voted in the top 10, my friend, because it ain't like it's a 12-man roster for the second team. No, it's only 5 players that's making the first team, second team, and third team. He made the second team. Therefore, in my opinion, he was voted to be a top 10 player, in which he played like a top 10 player. If you ask me, they were a 3rd overall seed in a very stacked, tough Western Conference behind LeBron James. But hey, that's current stuff. Let's talk about his legacy, right? He goes to Miami Heat. You playing with Chris Bosh, who was just entering his prime prior to going to Miami, Dwayne Wade. Now you got LeBron. Outside of that, who did they have originally? Okay, Mario Chalmers, Norris Cole, Haslam. And like I said, I'm not disrespecting those guys at all. Great pros. But you're acting like they had a stacked starting 5, it wasn't that. Yeah, they eventually got help later on down the line with, Shane Battier, and they ended up getting, Mike Miller and, those guys, some sharp shooters, because LeBron needs shooters around him in order to dominate, because he just draws so much attention when he drives. But, starting out, it wasn't like that. Okay. When they first got to Miami, they didn't really have much of a roster. They had to build that out, in which a lot of players that were wanting a ring, wanting an opportunity at being champions, they took less money to join LeBron, so that's that. They talking about, LeBron James betrayed Miami, and, he left an aging superstar in Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh and went over to Cleveland to go with younger stars. Well, guess what? Those stars wasn't available in 2015 in the NBA Finals. Last time I checked, LeBron James did that single-handedly. Him and Matthew Dellavedova. I was having a debate with somebody at work, and I was talking about Andre Iguodala, which I love. Andre Iguodala, he's one of my favorite players, athletic forward, excellent shooter. He could do it all, right? Great defender. Stephen Curry was not the Finals MVP in 2015. It was Andre Iguodala. And the reason why Iggy got that award, because he slowed LeBron James down. LeBron James was averaging 35 points per game in the NBA Finals. He was playing so well that the media was talking about, like, man, like, the writing was on the wall. Everybody knew that, Cleveland probably wasn't going to win. But the media was saying, like, man, this dude is so great. He might be the first player on the losing team to win an NBA Finals MVP since Jerry West. That's how magnificent LeBron James was playing. And Iguodala slowed LeBron James down. Didn't stop him. Slowed him down. Didn't really shoot efficient with Iggy guarding him. This dude got a Finals MVP because he slowed LeBron down. You got a Finals MVP because you slowed King James down. That's how dominant this guy was. I've seen this guy single-handedly just demoralize teams. Iman Shumpert, he tells a great story about how LeBron James was dicing up the Boston Celtics because it was, something like they was playing, kind of soft on the weak side or whatever. And how he cued it in, he noticed what they was doing, and he attacked it for the entire quarter, and there was nothing they could do about it. The intelligence of LeBron James. Like I said, I'm not riding, his coattails, anything like that. But I gotta say, like, the slander, it is not warranted. Like, this dude is an excellent, fantastic player. He is the second greatest player to ever play. This dude is in year 23, the all-time leader in points, most all-star appearances, most all-NBA appearances. This guy is a 4-time NBA MVP. This guy has Finals MVPs for days, right? But yet he doesn't get the respect because everything is discounted. Even the championship that he won in a bubble, which is probably arguably the toughest championship ever won. And all people say, oh, I got an asterisk and it's a Mickey Mouse championship. Those guys didn't have any home court advantage whatsoever. By the way, nobody had home court advantage. Nobody, okay? Because they was all playing inside of a contained event, right? You couldn't leave, you couldn't see family, you didn't see your wife, the whole nine, right? You got all that stuff going through your mind. And for LeBron James, he puts his family first, right? He loves his kids, he loves his wife. And for a guy like that to be away from his family and still was able to focus and dial in and team up with AD and dominate, like that playoff run, man, was pure dominance, right? But hey, it's discounted. It don't count. There's an asterisk next to it. I don't think that's fair. 2016 came back and beat the 73-9 Golden State Warriors, the greatest regular season team ever assembled. If you look at the record, had those guys down 3-1, and LeBron James and Kyrie Irving team up, come back and win. Come on, man. That championship doesn't deserve any type of love. LeBron James, all 4 of his championships don't get no respect. Didn't happen. 2012, you beat a young OKC team that featured 3 future MVPs, okay? 3 future MVP winners. It's ridiculous, man. Now, I can see why you would want to hate against, want to hate a guy like LeBron James because he is so successful. He's getting his kids opportunities, like he's so great at things. And like, whenever you're so great at something, it's a fine line, right? Either people gonna love you and revere you or people gonna hate you. And I think LeBron James is on that line of where a lot of people hate him because he was so great. With LeBron James, you get special rules like, oh man, he's so great, you can't join other players because you're so great. You're supposed to single-handedly drag a roster, right? And I was looking at the stats. I'm gonna go ahead and pull it up here. Give me 1 second. I was looking this season right here. Excuse me, sorry about that. This season right here, this was 2009-2010. They finished first in the Central Division, 61-21. His second best player, Mo Williams. Then he had Antoine Jameson. They was averaging 15 points a game. Okay. 61 wins. They were number 1. All right. They had the best record. Not only in the Central Division, they had the best record in the NBA. All right. Let's look at another season. By the way, this year right here. All right. 2008, 2009. They won 66 games. Second best player, guess who it is again? Mo Williams. And this is no slight to Mo Williams. I like Mo Williams. He was a great player, consistent player, right? But he's not a superstar. It wasn't like the Boston Celtics. It wasn't like this ain't no KG, Paul Pierce, Ray Allen, Rajon Rondo situation. No, this dude was so great which he won MVPs both seasons, by the way. You know, for those of y'all that don't know that off the top of your head, this dude was so great. He literally drug a roster where Mo Williams was his second best option and won 60 plus games. Come on. The slander has to stop. All right. The slander has to end. People are forgetting the run that he had in 2018, which was probably one of the greatest playoff runs I've ever seen from an individual player, even though it didn't end in a championship for him. But after losing Kyrie, you still drag a depleted roster, you know, a roster that only included guys like Shump, J.R. Smith, you know, K-Love was on the team. Tristan Thompson played great. You know, I think he was performing well, you know, but like that roster didn't have a number two after Kyrie Irving left. A number two that you could just give the ball to and say, hey, man, I need a bucket. Let's take turns. That was gone. This dude single-handedly drugged that roster to an NBA Finals. Dominated the city of Toronto so much they considered Toronto LeBronto. That's greatness. And we cannot, you know, exclude that from his legacy, right? We cannot discredit his greatness because of those things. You know, in the last video, they're saying that, you know, LeBron James ruined the NBA because you got players leaving and all that stuff. You know, personally, like if I was to like kind of point at a player where I was like, man, you know what? That was a bad move, was Kevin Durant. You know, the same team that eliminated you from the playoffs where you had them down 3-1. You join them. That's not a good move. You know what I'm saying? In which I could see why KD did what he did. I mean, he did end up getting 2 championships out of the exchange, 2 finals MVPs out of the exchange. But, you know, I think that was a worse move than what LeBron did. All right, man, this team is too powerful. They too strong. I'm not getting help that I deserve. D-Wade, Bosh, I know y'all feel the same. I know y'all getting tired of getting smacked around by this strong team, you know, because that same team is who eliminated the Lakers, who eliminated the San Antonio Spurs, who was the defending champions. You know, like, it's just, come on, man, nobody talk about that stuff, though. It's okay for teams to build super teams, but it's not okay for players to build super teams and want to play with each other and want to dominate and want to win. You only get respect if you sit back and you struggle and you lose. Whenever we talk about greatness, we talk about championship performances. You know what I'm saying? Jerry West isn't in the top 10. Why? Because he's not a champion. Every player that you have in the top 10 has championships. Okay, because at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to. Charles Barkley is probably arguably a top 10 talent if you look at his peak years, which he didn't really have many down years. The bulk of his years were peak years. Why we don't talk about him in the top 10? Because he's not a champion. It's important for your legacy to have won on the big stage. So why frown against a guy trying to get it a different way? You know what I'm saying? Like I said, I wasn't happy in 2010 when the decision was made because I was a Lakers fan. I wanted to just go 3 in a row, you know, in which we didn't get back, you know, to that point because Dirk went on a freaking tear and knocked us out. But it's just, you know, it ain't right, man. And that's what I got to say about that. We could argue, you know, we could debate, you know, I will start going live. I have everything set up. I want to go live. I want to talk about this topic. Because it's not fair to LeBron, man. And like, I'm looking at the all NBA teams. Like, man, this dude LeBron, he's been all NBA pretty much every season that he's played since his rookie year, man. Well, the year after his rookie year. This dude has been an all NBA talent. Why do people hate him and discredit his career and talk about his legacy like he doesn't deserve to be mentioned amongst the greatest to ever play? Because his legacy is still going. Okay. Yeah, it wasn't good for his legacy that he lost so many times in the finals, but he made it that many times. He made it 10 times. He got 10 NBA finals appearances. Okay. And if he would have had less appearances, he'd have a higher win percentage. But hey, when you running up against San Antonio, okay, Golden State, I mean, hey, it's tough. It's tough. And I think all of his appearances in the NBA Finals with the exception of the one against the Miami Heat, were against those two teams. In Dallas, I'm sorry, I'm forgetting about Dallas. I'm wiping them out my mind, sorry. But the bulk of the championships, I think he had 3 against San Antonio, and he had 15, 16, 17, 18, 4 against the Golden State Warriors. So 7 of those teams were the Spurs or the Golden State Warriors. Come on, man. It's not fair, man. OKC Thunder, I forgot about them too. You know, like it's not fair. But anyway, let me know what you think about that take down in the comments below. Are people being hard on LeBron, or is the disrespect warranted? In which I don't think is warranted. I think we need to give the guys flowers. He has had one of the best careers out of anybody I've ever seen. And his longevity, like it's remarkable. It's something that you can't fathom. Something that nobody could fathom. Like, think of the next player who could possibly play that long. I'm thinking maybe Giannis. But outside of that, like, I don't see too many people playing that long, dominating for that long. And Giannis is an underappreciated player also. You know, he's an NBA champion, 2-time MVP, Defensive Player of the Year. He's constantly in the finalists for NBA MVP, which, you know, a lot of people haven't been talking about it for the last couple of years, but Giannis was right there. You know, even though I think last year Luka was a finalist, but hey, you know, Giannis is right there. All right, but anyway, check out one of these other videos, man. Let me know down in the comments what you want me to react to next. I just had to vent, man. I had to get this off, bro. I'm a Kobe Bryant fan, all right, first, but we got to respect LeBron James, okay? We got to give him the respect and the credit that he deserves. But anyway, I'm going to wrap it up with this video right here. Catch you on the next one. Love you. Peace.